Today I have for you a mat Pilates class that's at an intermediate to advanced level with beginner level options available. This is the Bennie Pilates studio. We're going to begin today lying in a prone position on our stomachs on the mat. And right here, we're just going to focus on breathing. You can place your hands underneath your head, or you can take them to the outside of your rib cage to help you focus. We're going to inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And while we inhale, we're going to let our rib cage expand and reach out to the side. And on the exhale, it's going to knit back together. Having our belly pressing into the mat will help us keep that engaged and drawn in so that we are focusing on opening up and expanding through the rib cage and kind of breathing through the back here. Nice deep breaths. Inhale, feel your rib cage expand and slide across the mat, and exhale as we draw back in. From here, we're going to extend our right arm and take our left arm through underneath, dropping the left shoulder blade onto the mat. And just stretching and lengthening here. You can open up more by walking that hand back and twisting further into the body. Let's go ahead and unwind and come back. Left arm coming up, right arm reaching underneath and dropping the shoulders to the mat. Deep breathing here during this stretch. And if you want to take that further, reach that left arm back further beyond your head and open up a little bit more here. Let's continue getting the body warm. We're going to place both the hands underneath the forehead. And we're going to start by lifting the chest. We'll inhale, lift the chest, and exhale, bring it back down. Right here, we're keeping the feet planted and just lifting the upper body. Inhale, lift and reach up, hovering off the mat, and exhale, drawing back down. We're trying to make this nice and smooth, lifting through that inhalation rather than jerking ourselves up. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. You may find your range in lifting off getting deeper and higher with each one as you begin to warm up through those muscles. Now let's bring both the legs out to the corners of our mat. We'll inhale to prepare, and on the exhale, we're going to float and lift the legs away. Inhale, return. Exhale, float and reach. Think about this rather than height, we're thinking about length, reaching those toes across the room. So we want our legs to be perfectly straight, as if someone is pulling on your ankles and pulling out while they're floating out in a way. Exhale on the lift, and inhale as we return to the mat. Good. Extend the arms out long. We're going to begin with swimming today. We're going to go into some slow swimmers. So we're going to take the opposite arm on the opposite leg, and we're going to lift and lengthen and lower down. Think about someone pulling on your ankle and pulling on your wrist, reaching across the room. Exhale as you lift, and inhale, return. Exhale, lift. And inhale, return. Make sure you're switching sides. Opposite arm, opposite leg. Good. Right arm, left leg, and lower. Left arm, right leg, and lower. Continue here. Matching the length of your breath to the movement. It's nice, slow, and controlled. Now we're going to float the legs up and float up the upper body and go into our swimmers. We're going to inhale 2, 3, 4, 5 and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5 and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep going here with the same kind of breathing pattern that you do for the 100 exercise. Just pedaling those arms and legs. Think about lengthening and reaching nice and long. Continue to breathe, and since your belly is pressed into the mat, think about that lateral breathing that we did at the beginning. Go ahead and lower back down. We're going to come into a rest pose for a moment, and then we'll be moving into the leg pull. We'll be in a full plank, or you can be in a modified plank with the knees down as seen in the small box below. Now we're going to lift one leg for 5. And you can do this with the knee down or in a full plank. And then we're going to rock forward and back for 5. If you're modified here, you can tuck the toes and lengthen the legs straight and bend back in for 5. Now switch the legs. Lift and lower for 5. Keep the head in line with the spine here. And forward and back, or using that modification, straightening the leg and bending back in for 5. Now we're going to put both feet together and we're going to rock forward and back for 5. If this is too much and you're in a modified plank, you can simply hold that plank here. Coming down to the knees, we're going to flip over into a reverse plank position, fingertips facing forward towards the feet. We're going to lift into that reverse plank. If you're modifying, you can keep the legs bent, and we're simply going to lift up, expand through the chest, and lower back down. Intermediate and advanced, we're going to lift and lower the same leg for 5, and then reverse. Make sure you keep those hips nice, high, and stable. Switching legs for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower down, and we're going to go ahead and repeat all of that. So we're going to come back into our plank position, full or modified, and we're going to take those 5 lifts, one leg at a time. And then rotating forward and back for 5. Switching feet, 5 lifts. And shifting forward and back for 5. Both legs coming together, and we'll shift forward and back or hold a modified plank. Coming back into a rest pose for just a moment before we flip over and get into that reverse plank position. Let's go ahead and stretch through the wrists as well. Turn the palms facing up, fingertips facing forward towards yourself. We'll just lean back and stretch out the wrists. We place a lot of our body weight onto our hands for those leg pulls, so a little break for the wrists is nice. Lifting into that reverse plank right here, keeping the fingertips facing forward. And you can lift each leg for 5 and then switch sides. Or you can see the options down below, keeping a bent leg or slightly hovering a leg and alternating back and forth. And lowering down. Go ahead and reach forward, take a nice little stretch. We're next going to be moving into the teaser. So if you're doing a modified variation, you find that you can't lift up into the teasers, just practice holding that teaser shape that you can see in the corner down below, bringing your legs down for a rest when you need to. Otherwise, we'll come onto the back, reach the legs out to 45 degrees for teaser 1. We'll inhale to prepare, and on the exhale, we're going to roll forward, our legs extending out towards 45 degrees, and then we'll just roll back down. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, roll up, lift, bring the arms parallel to the legs. Inhale at the top, and exhale coming back down. If you're struggling to lift off here, one thing that might help you is while you're laying on the back, bringing your legs straight up from the hips 90 degrees, and then as you roll forward, letting them come out towards 45 degrees. Sometimes the legs going from 90 and reaching out can help you add a little bit of momentum so that you can lift up the upper body. Go ahead and draw those legs in. We'll take a little rest before going into our second teaser variation. We're going to reach the legs out to 45 degrees, arm comes up overhead to frame the face, and we'll roll up forward again, hold here, and we're going to lower and lift just the legs 4 times. And then we'll roll back down. Again, if you're unable to do these teasers, just practice holding the teaser shape position right here and come out of it or bend the legs when you need to and then lift right back up. And rolling back down. Again, inhaling to prepare. Exhale, roll up into that teaser and lower, lift, lower, lift, lower, lift, and exhale as you lower down the upper body. Pull the knees in and give a little rock from side to side. For our third teaser variation, we're going to take the legs out long on the mat and arms up overhead. We'll lift the upper body and the lower body at the same time. Inhale at the top and exhale as we come back down. Inhaling to prepare. Exhale, lift up arms and legs at the same time. Inhale at the top and exhale, lower back down and try to lower down your upper body and your lower body evenly at the same time, not letting anything drop or flop. And exhale as we fold back down. Inhaling to prepare. Exhale, lifting up. It's like you're bringing your body up into this beautiful V shape right here. It can be really useful to have a mirror handy to look at your form in the teaser. We want to make sure that our chest is nice and open here and that we're not in a C curve. Good. Bringing those palms down to the mat. Let's just reach out our body here and take a couple of deep breaths. We're next moving into some shoulder bridge variations. Walking the ankles in. We're keeping the feet parallel, toes facing forward, knees about hip distance apart, and making sure that you're keeping your chin tucked in far enough so your gaze is straight up and ahead and not flaring out. Right here, we're going to tuck the pubic bone forward, low back pressing into the mat, and we're going to roll up one vertebrae at a time. At the top, we want to have a straight line from our knees down to our shoulders without our rib cage flaring. And then we're going to roll back down, letting one vertebrae at a time melt into the mat. We'll continue here. Exhale, peeling the spine off the mat. Inhale at the top, and exhale, rolling back down. Again, inhaling to prepare, letting the pelvis come back to neutral, and then tucking forward, imprinting the low back as we peel up one vertebrae at a time. We really want to focus on peeling the spine off one vertebrae at a time, from the lower back to the upper back on our way up, rather than just thrusting the hips. And as we come back down, rather than letting it drop in a solid unit, we want to melt it down, upper back, down through the lower back. Good. Now we're going to peel up one more time, and we're going to stay lifted here at the top. And we're going to lift one heel and lower at a time. You may find that you need to walk your heels in a little bit closer towards your bum. We're just going to practice lifting and lowering, trying to keep our hips stable and steady while we do this. Keep them lifted up. You may find it helpful to perhaps place your hands underneath the hips for support, or try to keep your body in that nice line right here as you lift and lower. And we're practicing shifting the weight from one foot to the other. Keep this going while you maintain a steady flow of breath, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And now rolling down through the spine, one vertebrae at a time. From here, we're going to lift right back into that shoulder bridge position. And we're going to lift the arms up overhead and then bring them back down towards the mat. Lifting up, stabilizing through those shoulder blades while we stabilize the hips here in this position. Lifting up overhead and lowering back down towards the mat. Trying to keep that body still, stable, and steady. You may find one of my variations down below helpful, perhaps taking one arm at a time up overhead, or maybe even lifting that arm just above the shoulder rather than extending back to frame the face. Next, we're going to roll up and go into the shoulder bridge prep. So we're going to lift one leg to a tabletop position and return, switching legs and shifting through the body weight as we lift one leg to tabletop and lower, the other leg to tabletop and lower. If this is too much, you may find yourself needing to go back to this earlier variation of lifting one heel at a time. Or perhaps taking a slight lift of the foot and returning rather than making it the whole way up to tabletop. And rolling back down onto the mat. Take the knees and hug them into the chest here. We're just going to reach the knees away and then pull them gently in towards the body. Next, we're going to reach the legs out long and go into our roll-up exercise. If you're needing a modification, you'll be in a seated position for this. If you're modifying, you'll exhale as you curve through the spine, C-curve through the spine, and inhale, reach up. Otherwise, if you're fully on the mat, you're going to roll the whole way down to the mat. Inhale as you lift the arms, lengthen and prepare. Exhale, tuck the chin to chest and roll forward in that C-curve position and reaching forward, maintaining the C-curve. Again, rolling back. If it's not possible for you to peel the spine off smoothly off the mat like this, you'll just be in that seated position. You can either have your legs bent or your legs straight as you C-curve and roll back to that place that you can control and then come right back forward. From here, we're going to reach up tall through the spine, place the hands behind the head, and go into the neck pull. We'll take the feet hip distance apart and flex through the feet. And we're going to roll down one vertebrae at a time. And exhale, we'll come forward and pull the elbows in towards the legs and then lift up tall. This is just like the roll up, only our hands are positioned behind our head, which makes it way more challenging. So if you're following the modification, we'll do just the same thing. We're going to roll back into that C-curve, hands behind the head, and then as we come forward, we're going to hug the head down towards the legs and then stack up through the spine, lifting tall. Rather than coming the entire way down to the mat, we're just rolling back to as far as we can control. Next, we're going to be transitioning into the single leg circle. So we'll roll back onto our back and we're going to float the right leg up to tabletop and extend it up 90 degrees. And then we're going to circle internally for 5. If you find it impossible or challenging to lengthen that leg out long, then you're going to keep it bent in the modification. And we'll take to the outside for 2, 3, 4, and 5. Switching the legs here. We want to root down through the ankle of our standing leg. This is about pelvic stabilization and hip rotation happening at the same time. So stabilize through that pelvis, and we'll switch and go the other direction, 5 in each way. So we want to make sure that we're not shifting all over the place with our pelvis. We're trying to keep it steady and getting into the rotation of our hip. Moving next into the single leg stretch for abdominals. Float both legs up into tabletop, lift head, neck, and shoulders, and we're going to pull one knee towards the body as we reach the other leg out long, maintaining a neutral pelvis. You may find this necessary if it's hard on your neck to keep the head, neck, and shoulders down on the mat. We want to maintain a steady flow of breath here, inhaling for 1, 2, and exhale 1, 2. And draw both the knees in, hands behind the head. We're moving into the crisscross. We're going to exhale as we reach that elbow out beyond the knee, reach the other leg out long. Maintaining a stable, neutral pelvis throughout this. To modify here, you can keep the legs in tabletop and just take a chest lift with rotation. If you're taking this exercise at a slow pace, you can exhale every time that you lift and twist to the side. Or if you're going a little bit faster, you can exhale as you reach, switch, and then inhale, reach, switch. Moving now into the single straight leg stretch. Legs coming up straight, grabbing onto one ankle, and we're going to pull, pull, switch. Little pulse, pulse, switch. Exhale, exhale, switch. Exhale, exhale, switch. In the full exercise, the extended leg will be hovering off the mat, but you can see in the modification below that you can bend the knee and place the foot down on the mat and just focus on that hamstring stretch. And you can also leave your head, neck, and shoulders down if you wish. Otherwise, we're engaging that rectus abdominis and peeling up the head, neck, and shoulders as we focus on reaching and stretching through the hamstrings and working the abdominals. Drawing the knees in towards the chest, we're just going to hug the knees and rock them from side to side for a moment. Next, we're going to be moving into the corkscrew exercise. So if you're a beginner and haven't mastered the roll-up yet, or shouldn't be doing inversions because of a neck or shoulder issue, then please pay attention to the modification down below. Otherwise, you'll be coming with me, rolling the legs up over and coming to inversion. Taking the legs out to 45 degrees, we'll roll over here, and for a moment we're just going to be taking the feet and gliding them from side to side. So as we circle the legs, we're going to keep the hips where they are and reach the feet off to the side, and then begin that circle as we descend. So just practice here going from side to side. You can also support your hips with the hands underneath and just practice the feel of rolling up and taking them from side to side. Go ahead and roll down for a minute, and we'll go into our first corkscrew. Exhale as we peel up. Now we're going to reach our feet over to the right and roll down through the spine, circling the legs back to center. Exhale as we reach up, taking the legs off to the left and coming down. My modifiers down below, we're going to keep the legs to 90 degrees, and we're going to circle down around to the right, stopping there, and circling down and around to the left, coming straight up, and down around to the right, trying to keep those heels together, not letting the leg shift too much as we're taking it in a circle, always pausing at the top so we're not using momentum, but rather using our core. Draw the knees in here, and we are just going to tug the knees towards the body and release. A beginner level version of the corkscrew would be the legs at 90 degrees, and then our intermediate, we go into a rollover stance. You can also do the corkscrew in a jackknife position, which we'll be doing right now. Lift up into that jackknife, legs come over to the side, and we roll the whole way down. Bring the legs center, straight up into the jackknife, and going off to the other side. Now we're twisting through the torso here as we roll down. Again, if this is not appropriate for you to come up here, then just continue where you are. Short rest for just a moment. We're going to end class with the boomerang. So we're going to go through several variations and add on as we go. If this is not appropriate for you to roll your feet over your head, even using momentum like we will be, please come into rolling like a ball at this point. I'm taking a little flex and stretch through my toes, just lengthening through the body. And then circling through the heels, coming to the outside, flexing up, pointing through as you circle around, and then reversing and taking that point and circle from the inside out. Lifting up, let's move into our boomerang, crossing the right foot over the left. We'll inhale to prepare, place the hands down to the mat, and we're just gonna roll the feet over, switch the feet, and then roll ourselves forward and fold forward. So we just feel like we're flipping back and forth like a boomerang. If this is not appropriate again for you to extend over your shoulder blades, please come into rolling like a ball. Right here, this is a fun beginner variation of this, just rolling over, switching the feet, and then coming back and folding forward. We're going to add on one step at a time. If you find yourself unable to add on a certain step, just stay at the level that you are. Otherwise, progress, and we'll put one piece in at a time to the boomerang. So we're going to start by lifting off a little levitation there, flip over, and then come down the same way that we've been doing. Hands to the mat. We're going to hover the feet, engage the abdominals, roll over, switch the feet, and rolling back forward. This can be really nice and fun, and it's a nice stretch for the hamstrings as you roll forward and stretch. And it feels like a very dramatic, fun move. Uncross and recross those feet at the top and reaching back forward. Now, let's add on a little bit more. We'll hover the feet off the mat, and we're going to cross over, and here we're going to add in a teaser. So we'll use our fingertips as brakes at the top, and then we'll reach forward. Again, we're going to hover, roll over, cross the feet, use your fingertips to stop you in a teaser position, open through the chest, legs extended, and then fold forward. Lift off the feet and hover, rolling back. You can also find a how-to video, my Pilates how-to, where I go over all the stages of the boomerang. Right now, if you want to challenge yourself, if you don't need your fingers to put the brakes on and stop you at the top, you can extend the arms as you're rolling through. Hover the feet, take them up overhead, cross, and lift off, and fold forward. And we'll take this again, rolling through to our teaser, holds here, and folding forward. Now, let's add on a little bit more. Exhale, hover the legs, roll back, cross the feet, exhale as you lift up into that teaser. Now we're going to drive the elbows back, interlace the fingers, and open the chest, and then we're going to flop forward here, release the hands and reach. We really don't want to flop, but we do want to maintain the distance between our chest and our legs as we drop forward onto the mat. Draw those elbows back, interlace the fingers, open up the chest and dive forward. Release the fingers and reach. I just think of flopping forward there, but there's nothing that we do in Pilates that's really like flopping. It's graceful movements all over the place. We are always aiming to move with precision and control and connecting our breath in all that we do. Great work today. We're going to go ahead and flip over onto hands and knees and cool down just a little bit. We're going to move into some cat-cow. We'll inhale as we drop the belly, lift the head and tail. Exhale, draw the navel in, head and tail pull down towards the mat. Keeping a nice steady flow of breath while we reach and move through the spine. We're going to go back into thread the needles. We'll take the left hand underneath the right, drop the shoulder to the mat, and then reach the right hand up, breathing deeply here, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Coming the other way, right hand goes underneath the left arm reaches up above the head, and breathing deeply here in this nice twist through the spine. Thank you so much for being here with me in the studio today for this session. Please check out my channel for Pilates how-tos, mat Pilates, springboard Pilates, and bar workouts. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys next time in the studio.